Good evening. It is a sight seen at universities from Montreal to California. And now an encampment protest is underway on the grounds of the University of Toronto.
Students began the protest early this morning aimed at getting the university to divest from Israeli companies. Tonight, they remain in place at the center of the school's campus. CTV's Janice Golding is live on campus tonight with the very latest. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. Demonstrators started arriving here at U of T in the pre-dawn hours, and at this point there are a couple hundred students in the encampment behind us, their demands becoming increasingly vocal. King's College Circle is at the heart of campus, and today it's at the center of a protest. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators setting up an encampment.
At about 4 a.m., 150 students rushed this field and set up about 55 tents and claimed the space, renamed it the People's Circle for Palestine.
The students and faculty joining a growing chorus, voices at campuses across North America calling on their schools to disclose ties with the Israeli government and divest from Israeli companies.
From any companies, military companies, weapons companies, surveillance companies.
The University of Toronto has divested from South African apartheid in 1988. They divested from fossil fuels in 2021, and so this is definitely something that they know how to do.
Campus demonstrations started on April 17th in the United States and have spread to colleges and universities across North America, where at points there have been arrests and clashes between protesters and counter-protesters.
Our concern is that encampments like this elsewhere, including in the United States, have been the catalyst for violence, as we saw at UCLA, as we've seen at other places around the U.S., and our concern is that this will escalate here.
Hillel Ontario, which supports Jewish students at 9 Ontario universities, says there are concerns about anti-Semitism and about student safety.
We are very, very against any form of hate.
Protesters say they have a zero-tolerance policy for anti-Semitism or any other type of hatred in their encampment, but add,
the actual real deaths of over 30,000 people are very much the priority here over the feelings that some people have.
Specifically as a Jewish faculty member, I'm here with a large group of Jewish students and faculty members to really challenge the ways in which questions of Jewish safety have been invoked, because this is a very safe space.
The university, meanwhile, issued a statement today saying it respects people's right to protest, but they must not interfere with the ability of students, faculty, librarians, and staff to learn, teach, research, and work on our campuses, or disrupt or impede other university activities. U of T's campuses remain open. They add that anyone who contravenes the law or university policies can face consequences, including suspension. But protesters say their objective is to end the violence overseas, not add to it.
The students' demands are really crucial in terms of the human rights struggles of our time.
And they plan on staying for as long as it takes for the university to meet their demands. And of course, U of T is far from alone here in Canada. Similar encampments have been set up at universities from BC right through to Ottawa. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle.
Thank you, Janice. And later in the broadcast, we'll talk more about that. We'll have an update on the encampment protests that have popped up at other universities in Canada, as well as efforts south of the border today to clear encampments.
It is do or die again for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they'll have to do it without star Austin Matthews.
The team took to the ice for practice this morning ahead of tonight's Game 6 against Boston. A win, and the series goes to Game 7. A loss, and the season is over. Here's a live look outside Scotiabank Arena from high above in our CTV News chopper. And as we turn the building there, you'll be able to see that fans are gathering in Maple Leaf Square for another at-capacity viewing party on the big screen tonight. The gates opened there just a few minutes ago. Meanwhile, CTV's Sean Leathong is inside the arena, and he joins us with the latest. Sean.
Michelle and Nathan, in order to win tonight, some team has to exercise their demons. The Boston Bruins, they coughed up a 3-1 series lead last year against the Florida Panthers. The Toronto Maple Leafs, we know they've had trouble in the playoffs the last several seasons. They've tried twice to come back in the last 10 years against the Boston Bruins, 3 games to 1, and haven't been able to do it. So somebody is going to figure out something tonight.
On the day of a must-win game, there's no shortage of advice for Leafs players.
They've really got to bring the grit and the passion tonight. They have to show that they're here to win.
Just do what they did last time and keep fighting. That's what it's about.
As well as predictions.
I'm not sure what's going on with Matthews, but I'm pretty sure he'll be in the lineup.
What is going on with Matthews is that the Star Center skated briefly this morning, but coach Sheldon Keefe shut down any speculation.
Austin's not available tonight.
Facing another elimination game against Boston without the league's leading scorer, players are pointing to the team's ability to step up at the right time.
Guys responded really well last game, and if that situation's similar, same type of mentality.
So I think that we have a lot of guys in this room that can step up and play when their name's called upon.
Morris digging in on his off wing to the net, shoveled it in front, scores! Matthew Nyes!
And Matthew Nyes is one of those players, scoring the overtime winner in Game 5 to keep the Leafs season alive. Coming home for Game 6, the Leafs have lost their last 6 playoff games at Scotiabank Arena and are plagued by questions surrounding their inability to win at home.
For whatever reason we come in, our plan doesn't change, our approach doesn't change, but our mindset seems to change.
Having been down 3-1 in the series, the team is also trying to defy the odds by coming back, but
it's kind of exciting. You got nothing to lose, so you just want to put everything you got out there. There's no tomorrow if you lose.
There was only tonight, and with it, a chance to tell a different story.
And one of the big differences in Game 5 was Leafs goaltender Joseph Woll, who had a tremendous game, and Joel Edmondson, the defenseman, was asked what he thought about Woll's play, and he said he was amazing. Nothing seems to get to him. He's completely calm all the time. So with 19,000 Screaming fans in here, a few thousand more Screaming fans outside, hopefully you can do the same. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Sean. Time for a check on the forecast. Here's a live look outside. It is clear, sunny, warm. Great if you got plans tonight to maybe watch the kids play soccer or baseball, or perhaps head to Maple Leaf Square. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. What a lovely day.
You open the textbook for spring, and that's what we have as we kind of make our way through our Thursday. It stays mild into the day tomorrow, too, but the forecast is going to switch up in the way of some active weather. But for now, it is beautiful. We're sitting at 16 through the island. We're at 20 through Pearson, a little warmer the further kind of inland you go, but overall, it is beautiful, picture perfect. It really has been one of those days you wanted to spend as much time outside as possible, and this evening even nicer. We're still relatively warm across southern Ontario into the 20s, and for the folks at Maple Leaf Square right around 8 p.m., still 15 degrees, a really light wind. At sunset not till 8:22, so you'll see the sunset, and hopefully it'll be some good news. I'll have your full forecast in a moment. Right now, back to Nathan.
Thank you, Jess. Still to come tonight, why the OPP will be asking for a breath sample anytime you're pulled over in the GTA, regardless of why you're being pulled over.
We're learning more tonight about the victims in Monday night's Wrong Way 401 crash that killed 4 people. Among the dead, a 3-month-old boy and his grandparents. The province's Special Investigations Unit says they were a 60-year-old man and 55-year-old woman, both visiting from India. Investigators say the child's parents, a 33-year-old man and 27-year-old woman who live in Ajax, were also in the car. Both were taken to hospital. The woman with serious injuries. A 21-year-old man who investigators say was driving the cargo van that was traveling the wrong way along the 401 was killed in the crash. A 38-year-old passenger in that van suffered serious injuries. The SIU is involved as the cargo van was being pursued by police who were also going the wrong way on the 401 at the time of the crash.
A mother and a child were rushed to hospital with serious injuries after they were struck by a vehicle in midtown Toronto.
As CTV's John Woodward reports, locals are demanding the city do more to change an intersection with a troubling history.
Just before 9 a.m., this stretch of Davisville Avenue was blocked with police cars and ambulances. 2 people, a mother and a child, struck by a vehicle with what paramedics described as serious but not life-threatening injuries. The driver remained at the scene.
We were there just 20 minutes before this accident happened.
Scylla Oker said the stretch of road, which is next to a school and a park, sees too many fast-moving cars, and we didn't have to wait long to see a car turning on a red. Oker said he complained to the city in 2022.
There are many families living here.
Then, in the fall of 2023, an elderly woman was struck and killed by a dump truck. There's still a memorial to that woman, this silver walker. A police database shows there have been 155 crashes and 12 pedestrians hit in the past 10 years.
That's more than 1 pedestrian a year, and most of those result in serious injuries. How much more of this are we going to tolerate before we make some changes?
The city does have a plan for Davisville Avenue, saying in materials it will one day be a generous promenade with cycling lanes.
All of us in our community are very concerned about the well-being of the mom and her child.
That plan, very long-term, which has City Councillor Josh Matlow saying he is looking for improvements in the meantime.
But ultimately, I want to see changes to the road so that that crosswalk is as safe as possible physically, along with having a crossing guard to ensure that it's supervised.
Oker hoping for more enforcement.
So if people know that if the crosswalk is enforced, they will pay attention to it. I mean, we all do.
In the meantime, nervous neighbors are hoping another crash doesn't hurt anyone else. John Woodward, CTV News.
A woman is in hospital after being struck by a vehicle in Brampton. It happened just after 7 last night in the area of Fern Forest Drive and Peter Robertson Boulevard, north of Beauvais. The driver involved remained at the scene. No word on charges at this point.
Police have provided an update on a murder investigation at Toronto's South Detention Centre. 2 inmates were involved in a violent altercation on April 21st, leaving one with life-threatening injuries. The victim, identified as 31-year-old Ibrahim Ali, died a few days later in hospital. 27-year-old Samuel El Hashim was originally charged with attempted murder in connection with the assault. Now, police say the charge against him is expected to be upgraded to first-degree murder.
Get ready to provide a breath sample if you're pulled over by the OPP in the GTA.
Provincial police announcing today that all drivers pulled over by one of their officers will be given a breathalyzer test, regardless of the reason they were stopped. CTV's Beth McDonnell is live tonight with more. Beth.
Nathan, it's time drivers take note. If you're pulled over for distracted driving or speeding by an OPP officer, you'll be told to take a breath sample.
Good. I'm just doing a quick ride along with CTV.
This is a ride along the 401 with Ontario Provincial Police to show you mandatory alcohol screening known as MAS in action. Police believe a driver is using their phone and pulls him over.
I'm going to be conducting MAS, so I'm going to read you demand here, okay?
The officer explains why he was stopped and tells him he will perform a breath test.
I'm going to get you to form a tight seal around the mouthpiece and just blow until I tell you to stop, okay? Blow, 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 blow.
OPP say they're now doing the screening every time a motorist is pulled over for an infraction in the GTA to keep impaired drivers off the road.
So far this year compared to the last 5 years, 11,000 impaired driving charges in 2023 compared to 8,800 in 2019. Crashes in the GTA specifically are up about 50%.
This is the approved screening device, and we're going to ask you to take a deep breath.
This is what the breathalyzer looks like up close. After a few seconds, a reading.
0. And you'll be free to go, and the officer will continue with the reason for the original traffic stop.
The OPP patrol all provincial highways, including the busiest one here, the 401. But if you're pulled over by an OPP officer on any road, you will be told to give a sample. There are concerns about the screening.
In our view, there are more effective and more charter-compliant solutions to address that problem. This is an unjustified power to intrude into someone's life without any suspicion they have done something wrong.
Drivers who spoke with CTV News have their own thoughts.
So it's going to block up traffic more, potentially causing more hazards on the road.
It's as normal a check as anything else. I mean, if you're going to be pulled over for anything else, make sure that that's part of it.
If you're already following the law and you haven't been drinking over the limit, then you shouldn't have anything to worry about.
MAS was brought into law in 2018. Police say people who don't comply with the breath test could be charged. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. In Montreal, police say they're aiming to open up lines of dialogue with demonstrators at a pro-Palestinian encampment.
It's to have a communication to make sure that if we have to go on the encampment and take things off either in the next few days or we don't know the time that's going to happen, we want it to be done peacefully.
We've been saying for the past few days that we are a peaceful encampment and we will remain like that.
Police formed a line between pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli demonstrators on McGill's campus and said they hope to avoid any violent interventions to deal with the encampment. Jewish groups have expressed concerns about anti-Semitism, something protest organizers say they denounce.
The slogans are far from peaceful. You know, people look at campus demonstrations and imagine that they are like the 1960s and flower children and peace activists and give peace a chance. That's not what's going on at McGill or the campuses across North America.
McGill has offered to hold a forum with people from the encampment, but participants said they wanted a more firm commitment. The school would divest its ties with Israel. University President Deep Saini said no one, let alone individuals from outside McGill, has the right to set up an encampment on the university's property.
In BC, protest encampments now popped up at the University of Victoria and at Vancouver Island University in Nanaimo. Meanwhile, the protest camp at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver is growing. That camp was set up Monday and has expanded to about 30 tents. UBC says people in the encampment have taken materials from nearby construction sites and from school property.
U.S. President Joe Biden weighed in on the wave of campus protests over Israel and Gaza. The police response to the demonstrations has seen more than 1,800 arrests made across the country.
I understand people have strong feelings and deep convictions. In America, we respect the right and protect the right for them to express that. But it doesn't mean anything goes. It needs to be done without violence, without destruction, without hate, and within the law. You know, make no mistake. As president, I will always defend free speech, and I will always be just as strong in standing up for the rule of law.
Biden's comments come as the war in Gaza looms large over his re-election efforts in November. They also follow a night of clashes between demonstrators and police on the campus of UCLA.
And you can hear the sound of flashbangs in the air. There are also reports of law enforcement members firing what appear to be rubber bullets. Some students question the intensity of the police operation to clear the encampment and said it was much more forceful than their response when counter-protesters attacked the group.
In a place like UCLA, where they tell you this is a place to have a free exchange of ideas and to, you know, learn about the world, yet when you stand up for Gaza, this is what happens.
It's public space. People are protesting peacefully. I believe that, you know, that's kind of a right that we have.
The university called in state police who say they gave people in the encampment clear orders to leave and faced violence when enforcing them.
We had fire extinguishers thrown at us, smoke thrown at us, water bottles, and other various items, canopies as well, that were thrown at us throughout the night. No injuries to our officers. Injuries to the protesters are being evaluated at this time.
In the end, at least 200 people were arrested at UCLA, and the encampment was cleared. Several other U.S. campuses also saw tensions over the last day between demonstrators and police.
Israel's president today offered his support to Jewish students on campuses and condemned the protests.
We see prominent academic institutions, halls of history, culture, and education contaminated by hatred and anti-Semitism, fueled by arrogance and ignorance, and driven by moral failings and disinformation. We watch in horror as the atrocities of October 7th against Israel are celebrated and justified.
Demonstration organizers have said they denounce anti-Semitism and often note they include Jewish participants among their ranks. At the same time, Palestinians in Gaza continue to thank North American students for their actions.
Since I am an academic here in Gaza Strip, I know the voice of academic people. Thank you very much indeed for contributing in making our voice audible. Thank you very much indeed for sharing our voice around the world.
Demonstrators on different campuses have different stated goals, but for the most part, the focus has been on getting universities to cut financial and academic ties with Israel. Several institutions have said they don't intend to do so.
As for the conflict itself, Israel's prime minister is once again indicating a new military push in Gaza isn't off the table. Benjamin Netanyahu said today Israel will do what is necessary to overcome its enemies, including in Rafah. That's the southern city where many displaced Palestinians have fled, and the U.S. has urged Israel not to carry out an invasion there. Israel has indicated a move on Rafah is necessary to root out Hamas militants. Hamas has said it's still examining a possible ceasefire and hostage exchange deal.
The criminal trial of Donald Trump was back on in a Manhattan court today.
Who starts a case right smack in the middle of somebody's elections? It should be illegal because it's election interference.
The former U.S. president is accused of falsifying financial records to hide hush money payments to a porn star to cover up an affair. Today, a key witness, Stormy Daniels' then lawyer, who negotiated the payoffs, took the stand. Trump has denied wrongdoing.
Across the pond, one of the youngest members of the royal family is celebrating her birthday today. Princess Charlotte just turned 9, and her parents, the Prince and Princess of Wales, released a photo to mark the occasion. The picture is credited to Catherine as she remains away from public duties amid cancer treatment. Coming up on CTV News, scientific insight into the power of taking a break from social media. A new study reveals what as little as 1 week without scrolling can do for young women's self-esteem.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, it's something we have to use every day: passwords. Many people are still using passwords that are too easy to guess, which could cause you to get hacked. Today is World Password Day to get all of us to try a little harder. I'll have my reports just ahead.
The beautiful day we had turns into a beautiful evening. If you're heading out for a walk, maybe you're going out to watch a football game, a soccer game, a baseball game, it doesn't matter. It will be a beautiful night. We have a really light northerly wind carrying us through as we wrap up our Thursday. Coming up, a full look at your long-range forecast, including the rain on the way. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
Today is World Password Day, a day cybersecurity experts say is a reminder to everyone to use more secure passwords.
A new survey finds almost 70% of Canadians feel overwhelmed by the number of passwords they have, and they admit to forgetting them. Pat Foran is here with a Consumer Alert. Hey, Pat.
Thanks, Michelle and Nathan. Many of us struggle with passwords and reuse the same one for different services. The bad news is that artificial intelligence is making it easier for hackers to guess passwords. The good news is that one day you might not need them. Whether it's to watch your favorite streaming service, take money out of your bank account, or check your loyalty programs, chances are you'll need a password. Some of the most common passwords of 2024 continue to be easy to guess, such as 123456, QWERTY, password, admin, and welcome. Security experts say everyone should make a better effort to create stronger passwords.
A simple password is often what stands in the way of you and your personal data being stolen and used by some criminal somewhere.
Password do's: use complex passwords with 20 characters, a mix of upper and lowercase letters, symbols, and numbers. Use multi-factor authentication and change your passwords regularly. Password don'ts: don't use the same password across accounts. Don't use easily guessed passwords, birthdays, pets, or family names. Don't use browser-stored passwords, and don't recycle passwords. With artificial intelligence, it's making it easier for criminals to hack them.
They can basically ask the AI to tell me your password, and it'll go and do all of this research on their behalf.
The average Canadian is running into 20 different applications a day.
Okta Canada is a cybersecurity company that is helping businesses phase out traditional passwords to go passwordless. It already has.
We use biometrics, voice authentication, fingerprints, facial identification, not unlike what's happening with the mobile phones.
It may be a while before the rest of us can ditch passwords for facial recognition. Until then, we're all encouraged to try a little harder when it comes to creating strong, hard-to-guess, unhackable passwords. And one way to create strong passwords is to use phrases or song lyrics and include special characters in upper and lowercase letters. Make sure your banking password is very strong. If it's easy to guess and you get hacked, you may not get your money back. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, if I had to create a password based on today's weather forecast, it would involve sun, warmth, a whole bunch of exclamation marks, because it's gorgeous.
Yeah, warm weather, lots of exclamation marks, and maybe some numbers and symbols.
You know, a couple of things, couple of dots of comma in there. But regardless, no matter how you shake up the password, the answer is it's fantastic outside. It is beautiful. Again, it's like you open up the spring textbook, and this is what we want, right? A day that's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, the porridge. It's not too hot and it's not too cold. You're right in the middle of where you like to be outside. It will be nice this weekend too, but it comes with a little rain. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. We saw the sunshine early on this morning, and it has continued throughout the day. A really light breeze, a little northerly this morning, southeasterly now, but overall fantastic. We're still sitting in the 20s through Windsor. For us here in the city of Toronto, Ottawa at 19, even up towards Peawanuck, they're sitting at 8 degrees. It stays really comfortable into this evening as well. We'll be at 9, we should be at 7, but really across the board, we're within a few degrees of that seasonal norm. Into the day tomorrow, very similar, beautiful day once again. We just don't have the brilliant sunshine all day. We'll see a daytime high right around 17. Our norm is pretty close to that, and we hover around the seasonal mark throughout the day, almost across the entire portion of southern Ontario. It's that system making its way in. It will kind of hook its way around northern Ontario and come its way back towards us as we head throughout the day tomorrow. So it's not an all-day rain affair, but a good idea to keep some of your rain gear handy. The difference, though, now that we're into this, different section of the year, we're into May, is it's really humid outside, so that kind of makes it feel a little bit muggy. Your night tonight, though, fantastic, especially for the fans down at Maple Leaf Square. The weather will be picture perfect. Into the day tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds, so it's not so bad, but that system pushes its way in kind of late morning, early afternoon, and then we see pockets of showers off and on throughout, really from the lunch hour into the end of the day. A few light showers to start our Saturday, and then again, it's just a mostly cloudy day with the risk of some afternoon showers. So it is not a wash of a weekend, your Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but we don't have that brilliant sunshine. We'll sit at 17, so a very seasonal daytime high tomorrow. We get to 14 for the low, and then we don't see any real change into our Saturday morning. So it is a very warm night, Friday night. It could be a little challenging for sleeping. But through your Saturday and Sunday, we are holding on to temperatures near the seasonal mark for our highs, but those lows climb into the double digits this weekend, and then they stay there for really the next 5 to 7 days. Monday, again, picture perfect. We do have a little cloud cover rolling in and the chance of some more showers, very scattered in nature as we settle in towards Wednesday, Thursday. But I know a lot of the rain has really helped everyone's front lawns be really, really green over the past couple of days. So the rain is doing its job. I'll send things back over to Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Jess. Also tonight, Start Your Engines. North America's first Formula One exhibition races into Toronto. Feel what it's like to drive an F1 car and experience the past, present, and future of the sport.
A new study out of York University finds taking a week-long break from social media has real benefits for young women and their self-esteem.
CTV health reporter Pauline Chan takes a look at the research and has the details.
Jennifer Mills took publicly available images of young women and showed them to 2 random groups of young women.
The more time people spend on social media, the worse they tend to feel about their bodies. We wanted to flip that in order to get incrementally closer to showing cause and effect by taking away the social media to see what would happen to them in terms of how they felt about themselves.
One group of women continued with their social media habits, the other took a break.
We found that when people took a 1-week break from social media, at the end of that week they had better or more positive self-esteem, all different aspects of self-esteem, and they had more positive body image.
Mills says old forms of media, like fashion magazines, did not offer the abundance of constantly changing images 24/7 the way social media does, and the fact that influencers are not professionals also makes a difference.
It might have a bigger impact than even seeing, celebrities or supermodels in photos. There's something about somebody who you go to school with or you work with or from your friend circle that makes them feel that they might be more attainable, and that puts more pressure on young people to measure up and to feel as if they're keeping up with people who are their peers.
Mills says for boys and men, social media comparisons tend to focus on muscularity.
Most of the research has been done on young women. There's really a lack of research to the same extent on men and people who are non-binary.
And she says whether a shorter break or longer break from social media might make a difference is also something to consider. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Scientists have known for a long time that great apes are intelligent, and now they're reporting a first-of-its-kind phenomenon linked to a very smart orangutan. Scientists working in Indonesia spotted an orangutan with a wound to his face. They also noticed that raccoons chewed up the leaves of a plant with pain healing and wound healing properties and applied the paste to his face, and was good as new within a few weeks. The study's author says this was the first time a wild animal has been observed applying a medicinal plant directly to a wound.
With temperatures rising and people spending more time outdoors, health experts say it's a good idea to take precautions against ticks. This advice from the Ministry of Health applies especially to people spending extended periods of time in wooded areas with tall grass and bushes. Experts say Lyme disease and other tick-borne diseases can cause potentially serious infections. Anyone with fever-like symptoms and a rash that resembles a bullseye is advised to consult a healthcare provider as soon as possible. So how do you stay safe from tick bites? Experts advise wearing light-colored clothing so that it's easier to spot the insects. Long-sleeve shirts and long pants tucked into socks can help, along with applying insect repellent containing DEET or keratin on exposed skin and clothes. If you find a tick after returning home, you're advised to look up the safest way to remove it.
2 comedy icons are set to be honored at this year's Peabody Awards. The event recognizes excellence in storytelling that reflects the social issues and emerging voices of our day. Mel Brooks is set to receive the Career Achievement Award, while Abbott Elementary creator Quinta Brunson will get the Trailblazer Award at the ceremony in June.
The latest in a series of diss tracks exchanged between Drake and Kendrick Lamar is setting streaming records.
Cheesing farm. We could do this right now on the camera crew.
That's Kendrick Lamar and his song Euphoria, which includes a few Toronto references. Tracking firm Chart Data says the song saw a surge in plays and had the biggest streaming day of any hip-hop track on Spotify this year. Drake posted a clip suggesting he was laughing off what was said about him in the track.
One of the busiest shows in New York City, inspired by a Canadian music legend, is set to dock on this side of the border later this year. Parody musical Titanic asks the question, what would happen if Celine Dion herself were on the Titanic when it went down? The tongue-in-cheek show has been playing off-Broadway and will now come to Montreal in October and Toronto in December in an all-Canadian production.
North America's first official Formula One exhibition is opening in Toronto tomorrow.
The exhibition is made up of a unique mix of objects, artifacts, cars that many of the fans will have never seen before but will know really well.
The exhibit highlights iconic F1 race cars from different eras, as well as never-before-seen artifacts and video material. Visitors can also experience what it's like to get behind the wheel of an F1 car in the state-of-the-art simulators. It spans 20,000 square feet, spread across 7 specially designed rooms.
Canada, as you may know, has one of the sport's longest-running Grand Prix. It has an audience that knows and loves Formula One, and it is a world-class entertainment city that also has a huge affinity with sports. And so when we were looking at a map of North America, we thought actually what a great city it would be to launch in Toronto.
The exhibit will run until early summer at the Lighthouse Art Space, Toronto at 1 Yonge Street.
After the break, going for gold at the World Para Hockey Championship. Canada's national team gets ready to hit the ice in Calgary. Why one player says he's living the dream.
Tomorrow on CP24 Breakfast, we're live at Canada's Wonderland with a sneak peek of what to expect this season. CP24 Breakfast, where Toronto gets its everything every morning.
At about 4 a.m., 150 students rushed this field and set up about 55 tents and claimed the space, renamed it the People's Circle for Palestine.
Updating our top stories, students at the University of Toronto have joined students at campuses across North America by starting an encampment protest. Protesters are demanding the school disclose its ties with the Israeli government and divest from Israeli companies.
Guys responded really well last game. And if that situation's similar, same type of mentality.
So I think that we have a lot of guys in this room that can step up and play when their name's called upon.
The Toronto Maple Leafs are getting set to hit the ice for Game 6 in their series against the Boston Bruins. If they win, they move on to Game 7. If they lose, their season is over. And they'll be doing it without the league's leading scorer. Austin Matthews will not be in the lineup for tonight's game.
so far this year compared to the last 5 years. 11,000 impaired driving charges in 2023 compared to 8,800 in 2019. Crashes in the GTA specifically are up about 50%.
And in an attempt to crack down on impaired driving, the OPP announced today all drivers stopped by their officers in the GTA will be required to give a breath sample.
Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
Dropping iPhone sales and diving Air Canada shares. BNN Bloomberg has a roundup of the day's business headlines.
iPhone sales fell 10% in the most recent quarter for Apple, but the shares soared. Investors took comfort that the drop in iPhone sales wasn't as bad as feared. The company also managed to post record services revenue. That's the money that it makes from things like the App Store. It also announced that it would buy back $110 billion worth of their own shares. That's an eye-popping number and the biggest ever buyback announcement by any company. Apple also promised that next quarter's sales would start to grow again. Investors have been waiting to hear what kind of offerings Apple will have when it comes to artificial intelligence. So far, they've been tight-lipped, but there could be new announcements at their Worldwide Developer Conference this summer. Shares of Air Canada took a dive after the airline lost more money than expected. Costs increased and demand for transatlantic flights fell. Looking ahead, though, Air Canada says it sees continuing healthy demand from customers, with advanced ticket sales surging to $5.4 billion. Shares of BCE dropped today after Canada's biggest telecom saw profit fall to $402 million from $725 million a year ago. The company faced investors today at its annual general meeting and were peppered with questions about recent job cuts at the same time that the company boosted its dividend. The company defended its decision, saying that it was a challenging but transformational year and reiterated the need to become more efficient at all levels of the company. On the positive side, BCE added more wireless customers than expected, and its fiber expansion strategy helped its wireline division. A reminder that BCE is the parent company of Bell Media, which owns the station. Now let's take a look at the closing market numbers. The Canadian dollar was up modestly to around 73 cents U.S., while U.S. oil prices slipped below $79 per barrel. Canadian energy prices were also down by about $2 per barrel. It was an up day, though, on the TSX, adding nearly 95 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Amber Canmore in the BNN Bloomberg Newsroom.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Canada's financial crimes watchdog is imposing its biggest fine ever, ordering TD Bank to pay more than $9 million. FinTrack says the bank failed to report suspicious transactions, which should have been flagged as potential money laundering or terrorist financing. TD recently set aside $450 million U.S. over an inquiry into its anti-money laundering compliance there. The bank says it's working to fix the problem.
TikTok will be flush with music again after resolving a rights dispute that saw many songs taken off the platform. Universal Music Group and TikTok say they have reached a new licensing agreement to restore the label's songs and artists to the social media app. UMG had claimed TikTok was paying just a fraction of what other sites pay to access its content, but TikTok itself is considered a valuable marketing and promotional tool for the music industry. This comes as the company challenges a U.S. law aimed at forcing it to sell its operations there.
Toronto's clinched the #1 seed in the PWHL playoffs.
Drives to the wrist shot, Spooner, a chance, a breakaway for Spooner. Here she comes, looking for 18, and she gets it!
Natalie Spooner scoring her league-leading 18th goal of the season in Toronto's 4-1 win over Minnesota, securing the top spot in the league. Toronto now gets to choose who it wants to play in the semifinal between the 3rd and 4th seeds. They have one more game left on the regular season against Ottawa Sunday night.
The best para-hockey players in the world are arriving in Canada to compete in the 2024 World Championships in Calgary.
For Team Canada, it's a chance to shine on home ice. CTV's Glenn Campbell has more.
Oren Halbert was born with a short left leg that had to be amputated at birth.
That didn't stop Oren from playing sports. When he was 8, he found sledge hockey and fell in love with it.
Yeah, I think my parents actually saw it on the news one day, so they were like, we got to try this out, and they told me about it, and I had no idea what it looked like, had no idea what to expect, and as soon as I was on the ice, I was all smiles, super excited to get in the slide.
The 21-year-old's come a long way in the sport. He's now a member of Canada's national para-hockey team. Making that team was a dream come true.
It means the whole world. I've been training since I was 8 years old to make this team. It was definitely a grind to get here, and it's just every day I wake up and I'm just super thankful to be where I'm at and to have the opportunities that I get on the national team.
One of Halbert's biggest strengths is his speed. It's one of the reasons why they decided to switch him from forward to defense.
Early on, it was still a little bit of trepidation of, is this really what I want to do? And how can I put my fingerprints on the game? And now he's starting to see that, yeah, he can be a Cale Makar type of player for us, you know, because he's on the ice a lot and he's able to get to pucks that other guys can't. So it's in his hands a lot as well.
Halbert admits the transition to defense wasn't always easy. It was difficult at first, but every day is getting more and more comfortable.
Had to accept it and just know that my role on the team was now a defenseman and just embrace that totally. So it's been a big learning experience for me, but I think playing forward gives me the advantage on defense, knowing what forwards are looking for to get into the zone.
Halbert is the lone Calgarian on the team, and he's looking forward to playing in front of friends and family that have never seen him play live before.
I think just having that home ice advantage is huge for us. I mean, having fans in the stands that are cheering for you is a huge help.
Glenn Campbell, CTV Sports, Calgary.
Just ahead, up and away without the risk of real disaster. Buckle up for a high-flying class trip, offering a chance to feel what it's like to fly a real plane.
Tonight, the new weight loss drug coming to Canada.
It helps us with feeling fuller longer.
The potential risks and rewards of the drug from the makers of Ozempic. What you need to know later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special greetings to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
A group of high school students took a virtual flight into the skies in Mississauga.
And CTV's John Musselman explains the kids did so with the help of trained flight instructors and without leaving the ground.
Keep that nose coming up a little bit more.
If you've ever dreamed of flying an airplane, this is the place to be.
V1. Okay, right hand goes to the yoke.
Rotate.
And slowly.
And anyone can do it with the help of a trained flight instructor who can help you get a commercial jet safely off the ground.
2,000 remaining. Positive rate.
You're up.
Initially, it's overwhelming, but I always say to everybody, if you can just give me 1 hour, I will have you flying this airplane from takeoff to landing.
The company is called UFly. It's based in Mississauga. It offers simulator training to aspiring pilots, but the general public can book here too.
Everybody flies. This is the thing that ties it all together is everybody flies. Very few people really recognize what's happening up front in the flight deck. Once you've had an hour, 2 hours, or however long it is with us here at UFly, you have a whole different understanding of just what is going on up there.
Right hand goes to the yoke.
Rotate. The audio and visual displays give you a real sense of what it feels like to be at the control of a 737 or an even more advanced 777.
Ladies and gentlemen, New York.
High school students from Stratford came here on a field trip. It introduces them to possible careers in aviation. After an introductory course, they all took a turn at the controls. Some landings are a little trickier than others.
Oh my God, right?
But other students got the hang of it quite naturally.
Excellent. And here comes reverse thrust. That's the sound that everyone knows when they're landing. The engines get really loud.
It was nerve-wracking, but it was also really fun. Once I got the hang of it and I would manage to tell myself that it was a simulation and I wasn't in any physical danger, I was like, all right, I can do this. I just gotta breathe.
Staff here say people book the simulator for birthday parties, corporate events, even for people who may have a fear of flying and want a better understanding of how an aircraft works.
All right, good stuff. Don't leave me hanging. Boom. Excellent. Alrighty.
John Musselman, CTV News in Mississauga.
Well, whether you're in the air, on the ground, beautiful conditions, 20 degrees right now in the city. Yay!
Yeah, just like one of those perfect evenings, maybe a patio, maybe for the first time this season.
I know the Cafe TO program is opening up soon. A lot of other places that have patios already, those are starting to pop up. But it's one of those nights where if you can sit out in one of the parks in the city, go for a walk. I know maybe heading out to watch your kids play sports this evening. It's going to be fantastic. At Maple Leaf Square, I know there are a lot of folks, emotions are high. I can promise you one thing, and that is that the weather will be nice. I can't promise you anything else when it comes to this evening, but at least it'll be nice to be standing outside. As we head through the rest of our evening, temperature-wise, we're staying really, really mild. The jet stream, which kind of separates the colder air to the north and the warmer air to the south, is quite high over southern Ontario, well, almost the entire province. So we're experiencing this really nice kind of above seasonal trend. We're sitting at 20 through Windsor. The same for us here in the city, Peterborough, Hamilton. Everybody's kind of holding on to that warmth as we get ready to wrap up our Thursday. Tomorrow, it stays really nice as well, a little closer to seasonal, but we're watching for some scattered showers. A really unsettled system kind of makes its way in and will sit with us over the next couple of days. The good news is we stay at or above seasonal. We just have to contend with some shower activity through your Saturday and Sunday. But hey, guys, look at Monday. It's pretty nice.
Looking good. Thank you, Jess. Be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Altman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a good night.